Hello and welcome to International Masters of Formula R 2.0. This week we are in the Nurburgring. Not the Nordschleife, unfortunately, but the normal Nurburgring circuit, opened in the 1980s, and former home to Formula 1, which is absent this year, but even better, it's the International Formula Masters. This is the 6th event, rounds 11 and 12. No, it's not. It's the 5th event, rounds 9 and 10. There are 3 events after this. A map of the circuit, which will probably be familiar to most viewers. Used by many series. Big and small. Single-seaters, GTs and touring cars. And everything in between.
Yes, whilst this modern Nurburgring circuit isn't quite up to the same levels of awesomeness as the Nordschleife, it's still a pretty good Grand Prix circuit.
Ollie K leads, but he is absent this week, which gives a clear run for the defenders, Blady and Kimster, who are both present, and Jay Coops is not driving for Javery. He is taking Ollie K's place at Junior Motorsport. Javery presumably almost out of the constructors race with that news. And in the independents, Monolith Motorsport leads, and they are very close to taking that crown, but they have a new challenger, Scuderia Mexicana, and the new independent driven by MDSP, the Mexican, another North American driver to join Masteron Wolf and Joe Nathan. And this is Jay Coops' confirmation of him driving for Junior Motorsport on loan.
Yeah, it's a shame. Javery seems to have a curse about getting cars to races, but let's see what Jay can do in another outfit.
And this is Mr. Flobodov's pole lap. Nick, would you like to take us round?
Certainly. So we have this long straight here into a very, very harsh braking zone. You can see Flobodov locking up tyre smoke there. Very sort of twisty, tight section built onto the circuit by Helm and Tilke. It's had mixed reviews, but the general indication from drivers in many series is that it does promote overtaking and side-by-side action, which is always what we want to see. It's also quite more challenging for the drivers than the simple right-left chicane we used to have. And you can see
it can be a bit chaotic down there.
Oh yes, certainly. So lap 1 we're going to see a lot of tense moments, I think. But you can really hear Flob on the brakes there, just screeching his tyres. He's working so hard to get every bit of time he can out of this lap. And he takes a very nice line into that hairpin. Very difficult to say that. It's slightly banked, and if you miss the apex you're going to have a very hard job of trying to find it again. But a good exit from there will give you a good run all the way through this fast left-right chicane. No lifting on the throttle here. We'll see if they do that in a race, but fully committed in qualifying. Slight slide there through the left-hander, but he keeps it controlled again. He's got a very loose rear end, which, as we've seen before in these cars, is quite conducive to good lap time, but also quite conducive to seeing you off into the distance. A little breather here before you come to another dead stop. Very slow chicane. You've got to be careful here not to overshoot and hit the curb, or you'll get into the barriers there. And then just a simple right hander, although you have to kind of be patient there. You don't accelerate too quickly or you will have to lift off at the exit. But we've seen from Flob there, perfect car control for the perfect lap.
He was absolutely on it in that lap. As the cars start their formation laps to the grid, from the cluster at the end of the pit lane.
A few people waiting for instructions from their engineers, no doubt.
Yes, the engineers read out the order to the drivers, and they're supposed to leave an order, and they're generally okay at it.
Yes, we could see Burwellian there sort of trying to get out of the way of the people who have to be first out.
Burwellian seeming to go a little prematurely.
But his turn's been called and off he goes.
Yep, and we're just watching the last few leaving the pits. There's Masteron Wolf, Joe Nathan, Don Matteo and Race Pro UK leaving the pits as they make their way round. This is our pole sitter, Mr. Flobodov. followed by the two Defenders cars, and in fourth is his teammates, PY James. The N teams having a very strong run this weekend.
Yes, they very are much the dominant outfit in this series we've seen so far.
Especially now that Ollie K is being forced out of these races. It'll give them every chance to stretch their leads or stretch their legs in the championship.
Flob taking it quite easily on this formation lap. Of course, it's very important to keep the heat into your tyres, as we've seen before.
Having cold tyres is definitely not desirable. We can end up with having wild spins and lock brakes, which in the first couple of laps are not what you want to see. Here's the grid. Mr. Flobadob, as we saw, took pole by over 2.5 tenths from Kimster, Blairy and PY James, the N teams 1, 2, 3, 4. MDSP a very strong 7th on his debut, and he is the top independent, and Jim's 6th from the Tropical, continuing his impressive performances.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Jim's. I thought it would take him a while to bother the big boys, but he looks like he might already going to be doing that.
Lynn and Smidgey 11th and 12th. Only two independents. Race Pro is last in 19th place, behind Don Matteo and Joe Nathan. The field makes their way round the final corner. I have to say it's going to be hard to look beyond the 4 N teams cars unless Jay Coops can make an extraordinary start and keep them behind him.
It would take some kind of cataclysmic misfortune for one of the M teams not to win this race.
Still, they are the N teams. They have proven themselves to be architects of their own downfall in previous races, so I'm sure no one can rule anything out.
See, Race Pro UK's got a little bit of trouble getting to his grid slot there.
Seems to have found it okay in the end, and so that is the field lined up, and the lights will be coming on at any time now. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. They're green and away, and it's a good start from the 2 front row cars, but Blairy coming up from third seems to have a run in both of them, trying to take the lead as they go in towards turn 1.
This is exactly what we're expecting, exactly what the N team drivers did not want to see. 3 into 1.
And someone spun as a Tropico spun, and Dan Thorne stopped in the track. It looked like MDSP got spun in there somewhere, and Dan Thorne, in the wrong place at the wrong time, had to stop.
Oh, a flop, look at that.
Ooh. And Blairy getting all out of shape. Jay Coops up to second already, using his vast experience.
It looked like Flob tried to grab the lead, and I don't know if Kimster chopped down on him, or maybe Flob was a bit too late and Kimster didn't expect him to be there, but there seemed to be some kind of hold up, and Blairy got completely caught out by everything, and definitely the loser in that little scuffle.
Yeah, he seemed to just be forced wide and out of shape, and he was promoted to AGOK up to 5th, but he's been challenged by Blairy, and Blairy's made it past at the Dunlop hairpin.
So aside from Jay Coops there, normal service resumed. We've got 4 N teams in the top 5.
We do. Watch the field streaming through the Schumacher S. And, running wide, there's an event in Zap. It's Flob.
Oh, into the barrier.
Sitter. Any damage done? He seems to have the car. The car still seems to be in one piece, but that's a disastrous opening lap for their pole sitter.
Well, in qualifying we did see him power sliding for those corners, and that can unfortunately happen to you in a race as well.
Perhaps just trying a bit too hard. This is Lynn being challenged by Jims.
And that's Llewellyn across the chicane, I think.
Croffey and MDSP challenging. The lower midfield are running in very close proximity, and MDSP has a
run. It's going round the outside.
The black and yellow machine on the outside.
Croffey seems a bit more grunt now. He's got the inside line.
And
MDSP goes clean around the outside.
Very impressive.
What a move.
This seemed to have so much more grip around that part of the track. And Dan Thorne recovering from the first lap collision, challenging Master on Wolf. and on the inside for turn 4, but just gets cut off. That was very aggressive there from Astronaut Wolf.
Harsh but fair.
Yes.
And now AJOK is valiantly going to try and hold his position. But
Lynn into the gravel, and that'll lose him several positions this early on in the race. Indeed, he's must have lost about 6 or 7 positions, and he's been challenged by Dan Thorne and Astronaut Wolf. And he made contact. That was...
And he's collected by Flob as well. And
Joe Nathan. Dear oh dear. Not a disastrous few corners there. This is a replay from onboard Astronaut Wolf, and he just understeers into him.
Yeah, a combination of a bit too hot and a bit too much understeer.
Yeah, it seems to be. Meanwhile, AJOK seems to have gained a bit of ground on Blairy, but he's at the moment defending off by Junior and Smidgy, or Jim is one of the two.
Yes, by Junior's in that horrible position. Do you attack or do you defend?
And Bukoy challenging Berwellian. Berwellian running slightly further up the field than we've seen him in the past. Got some points towards the team's championship last time out at Vara, though still not on the drivers' championship quite yet. He finished 11th at Vara.
And Berwellian got quite hot into that corner, but I don't think it's cost him enough, as Bukoy is now under challenge by Dan Thorne, I think it is.
And Dan Thorne dives for the inside, almost looking to get 2 places in one move.
Ooh.
Thinks better. But Berwellian spun, so he does get it in the end. And Berwellian will be hoping to get out of that, as he seems to have kept his front wing on, so he must have slowed down enough before reaching the barrier.
And around the outside again goes Dan Thorne.
Bukoy challenging Dan Thorne, but Dan Thorne makes a move stick, and these two will be coming under attack from Flob, who, despite his first lap dramas, we know from qualifying is extremely quick in this track.
Oh, a couple of messy corners there from Bukoy, so Flob's going to be right on him. Is he going to go for it down into the hairpin, or is he just going to hang back a little? He has a little look.
Near. Thinks better of it. Bukoy. Wide, and that gives Flob the opportunity he needs, and he doesn't need to ask twice. But Bukoy fights back.
He's got the inside line. They're going to go side by side through here. But Flob's just ahead.
Place. Very brave move through there. It's flat out in these cars. Oh, and who's that? Is that Dan Thorne off?
It looks like yes.
Keeps it out the wall, and Lynn gets past.
It's a replay. We just see him a bit too much curb, and then slightly unsettled, and just has to bail out.
Yeah, he just lights at the rear tyres coming out there, just a little unstable.
And Crofty has spun at the chicane.
He has. That is going to cost him a lot of time.
Now, did he spin or was he forced out? And somebody.
Did he spin or was he spun? And Astronaut Wolf. Don't know what happened there, but he's lost 3 places as a result of that. And again, hopefully we'll see a replay of what happened to both senior motorsport cars.
And here's PY James on the back of Jay Coops. Very close.
Very close indeed. James proving once again that he has significance. We yet to win a race this season, but he's definitely been there or thereabouts all throughout this season.
And now he's all over the back of Jay Coops.
Jay Coops going very defensive. It's a hard move around the outside, though it has been done in the past. And
he's
Jay
messed
Coops
up his
runs
exit.
A little deep, and that's all PY James will need. Sign into this front out section, and Jay Coops holds on.
But now Blairy's got the advantage.
Blairy taking advantage and gets past. Blairy taking advantage of the battle between these two to find significant time. Now he'll have a run at Jay Coops, who is obviously holding these two up.
Jay Coops we've seen as a master defending, and we can see here just how good he is. He doesn't get flustered easily, but Blairy's got a good line out of that chicane.
Very close indeed.
And just stronger on the brakes.
Blairy taking to the pit entry to get round, but makes the move stick.
But Jacobs is going to have a go back at him now.
Using the slipstream, they're all following each other.
That's a very defensive line from Blairy.
P.I. James were getting a double slipstream for a brief point there, but they seem to be line astern.
Jacobs just has a little wiggle there. He's going to want to cover off P.Y. James to make sure he doesn't lose the place because of it.
He definitely will.
It just goes to the nature of the track. Jacobs being slightly too defensive through the sequence of corners that they're going through now led off the whole chain reaction that has led down to that turn 1 attempt.
And you can see how Blairy has been able to pull away as Jacobs has been defending.
P.Y. James is going to go for this. No, he ducks out at the last second.
It's a brave move in there. You can see that Blairy with clear track and no distractions and being able to take the best lines at all times is massively blowing away. He's several car lengths ahead of this squabbling pair now. Jacobs, of course, taking defensive lines and doing his best to hold up P.Y. James.
Oh, he's gone too wide there, and now P.Y. James is going to... Oh, he couldn't quite hang around the outside. It's very difficult to do that corner, obviously.
He'll have a run towards the chicane. Up the hill, but Jacobs, I think, is running quite low wings. Able to keep ahead despite the slipstream.
He's gone in too deep, but so is P.Y. James.
And they both cut across the chicane. What will be the result of that?
I think that's fair enough, really. Jacobs went completely off.
Yeah, I think he took the alternate route used by the 24-hour track. So meanwhile, Miss Flo Padob challenging Smidgey, and Smidgey just runs wide into the entrance of the final corner, and that allows Flob through up to around 6th or 7th place, I think.
And ahead we have this Jims with AJOK.
It looks like it, and Bai Jr. just ahead, having got past this pair.
So obviously Jims is trying to get past AJOK. We just saw the tail end of an attempt there, and he's still following him through this little section, the stadium section as it's known.
AJOK's just struggled a little bit this season. Won 2 races last season in the touring cars, but these single-seaters, more on edge in the touring cars, just not quite to his taste.
No, skittishness is not a trait AJOK likes in his cars. He can deal with a bit of oversteer, but when it's simply feathering the throttle and you're still getting the back end stepping out, then he doesn't really feel comfortable.
It takes a certain kind of driver to get the best out of that kind of car.
Jims though, following AJOK right through that fast section there, and he's got
a run.
Small attempt.
It's not really an overtaking spot, there's not really enough braking zone, and AJOK is successfully defended, but you sense that Jims will get through sooner or later. Just, he seems to have a lot more straight line speeds and is a lot more confident under braking than AJOK, and
here we go. Just too deep.
Oh, misses the chicane. That allows AJOK back through. He lives another day. Blairy, fastest lap, 1 minute 50.9.
He is certainly a man on a mission now, as we see Kimster.
He'll be trying to catch his teammate.
You can see that the gap is not insurmountable. We're only halfway through the race.
Kimster leads. We haven't seen very much of him in this race.
Oh, and Dan Thorne there around the outside of somebody.
I think that's Joe Nathan in the Argo Sport car. And there's a yellow flag out somewhere for somebody. Oh, and Joe Nathan just runs a little bit wide. And that gives Dan Thorne just a little breathing space.
And in the pits comes Master Wolf.
From last place, 19th. I'm guessing there's some kind of damage, maybe a puncture, since the front wing still seems to be attached.
Cosmetically, everything seems to be fine, so it must be some kind of internal issue. Oh, too wide. Oh,
and keeps his foot in, and very lucky not to be eliminated on the spot there.
I'd be surprised if there isn't some kind of bent pull rod there.
Well, he'll be hoping his pit crew can get it fixed, and not really a high attrition rate in this race, so points seem unlikely, but I guess if the championship between Senior Motorsport and Kaibutsu has been quite close, so it could come down to count back, and you never know what might happen.
Every position in every race matters. That's a philosophy a driver has to follow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't give up. You never know.
Now his fob's got a run on Smidge, dives down the inside.
And makes the move stick. Textbook.
So much more pace in that car, it was just only a matter of time.
Flob seems to be extremely well hooked up with this circuit today.
And Joe Speed getting it all wrong.
And doing a 360.
And there is Jim's. Oh, AJOK right down onto him.
AJOK for a bit of a last minute defence, and he banged the wheels. And
almost turned him round.
It's all getting very messy now. I don't think the stewards will take a particularly good impression of this, but they're still going and no apparent damage done. But Jim's has been held up for quite a few laps now, and he'll be wanting to get past AJOK sooner rather than later, especially with Flob and a couple of other fast guys behind. He'll be wanting to get some breathing space.
And just a little look. AJOK's almost teasing him, really. He's having these very late apexes. Or APCs, should I say.
He's managing to keep ahead, so whatever he's doing, it seems to be working. But he does. AJOK going out of his way to not take defensive lines. He's trying to guarantee himself the most speed, and that's not really an overtaking spot, and they bang wheels again. Is Jim's going to give up that position? I think he probably should.
That's a very rugged, robust touring car style overtake.
Yes, but these are not touring cars. I would quite like to see a replay of that. Behind them, Mr. Flobadob in 8th place. He'll be looking at this battle and realising he has a great opportunity to leapfrog a couple more positions and rescue points from this race, which has not gone as he would have hoped. And behind, MDSP and Bukoy are battling. This is over the lower points.
Now we see both Power GP cars taking very similar lines for the corner, that very late apex. They're very unwilling to put their foot down unless the car's almost straight.
I guess it shows they just don't really have the confidence in the big lock-up from Bukoy in the background there. Yeah, I guess it shows they just don't really have the confidence in the cars.
Flob is right now on AJOK. Should dispatch him pretty easily. But AJOK's not going to make it easy.
He won't, but Flob should have so much more pace than AJOK, and indeed he's well, in fact, I think he's very close there, but Flob should make this move stick, and indeed he does, and that didn't take very long, less than half a lap.
Just more confidence, more speed.
Indeed, and he will now set about catching Jim's ahead.
Of course, now what must be going through Flob's mind is, does he do too well in this race and get a worse grid position for race 2?
That's true, but he'll be ahead of the other N team's cars, so he'll have a good chance. They are significantly faster than the rest of the field at this stage of the season, so even if he ends up behind the likes of AJOK and Jim's in the next race, he should be able to dispatch them without too much difficulty, at least in theory. In practice it could well be different.
Yeah, turn 1 can turn up any kind of mishaps.
Indeed. So you can see how much he's taken out of Jones. It must be about a second or two since he got past AJOK just half a lap ago.
And you can see how much better is on the brakes, cutting speed more and yet not locking up his front wheels.
The car's obviously extremely well hooked up. We've seen several drivers struggling to get the power down, to get the brakes on, to turn in, but Flob and indeed all the other N teams drivers have had no problems of the sort. We've just been able to get on with it. Oh, Jim's getting very out of shape there.
Flob kisses his rear wheel.
Lucky to get away with that, but he will have a run. Probably not quite close enough unless he tries an outrageous lunge.
Oh, and he's going to do that. I think Jim's just got a bit frightened and moved out of the way.
Well, Jim's opened the door and then seemed to run a little bit wide, and that was all the invitation for him. He'll now be chasing the race OK ahead to laps.
He's not giving up though, Jim's. He's going to do the same as he did to OK. No contact this time.
Very tight indeed, and you sense that's probably Jim's last chance to gain that position back. Basically being a little laggy up ahead.
He's moving out of the way though, sensibly.
No sense in taking out the leaders, he's well down the field.
Yeah, he qualified some... oh, there he is in the barriers. He qualified some 14 seconds off the pace, which I thought maybe he didn't get a clean lap, but he seems to have genuine struggles with the car on this circuit. Oh, very messy.
What a bizarre incident. I'm sure there's a good
Someone's off.
There's a good explanation. Is that
it's by Junior?
Oh dear.
So another place for Flob.
Drops him behind AGOK into 8th.
Must have had a spin out of turn 1 or something.
Must have had. Just presumably gotten the power a bit too eagerly. We're about to see.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. And luckily doesn't take his front wing off. Meanwhile, Kimster, we haven't seen very much of him with 3 laps to go, has led pretty much from the start.
Untroubled and unchallenged. Thought Blair would close up a bit, but...
I think he's closed up a little, but almost certainly not going to be enough unless Kimster makes a mistake.
Kimster's just in his usual zone. He's out in front. Nothing to trouble him.
Would anyone want to trouble him? Is that that's the question.
That is a very good point.
Kimster.
Oh, is that age okay?
Ooh, it seems to be, and that allows By Junior through. It's Kimster, listening to reports from the other drivers, has something of a colourful personality, especially if he's disrupted or disturbed. That moves By Junior up into 7th place. He will be hoping to catch Jim's, although Jim's not in screen. He's going to have a hard time catching the Tropico driver before the end of the race.
It would take some kind of mistake by Jim's at this point, I think.
Still, he's seen AGOK fall off the track in front of him, so he'll be hoping for something similar, I presume. And Flob is already well clear of this trio.
I wonder if part of this could be a marbles issue, because that does happen a lot offline here. The marbles just build up and up and up.
True, and with these cars being quite demanding on their tyres, it's possible, with all the running that's done on this track, both in these single seaters and various other categories.
Is Dan Thorne and is that Lynn?
Yes, the red helmet.
So has Lynn made a place, or is this Dan Thorne trying to get by? Looks like Dan Thorne is on the offensive.
Yes.
Lynn is going very defensive.
Ooh, well out of shape there. Yes. Just seemed to get destabilise the car and put the throttle on, and that was enough to send the car around.
And that promotes his teammate Burwellian as well.
Seemed to... as we watch By Junior continuing to pursue Jim, but he's not really gaining that much at this stage in the race.
No, there's not going to be enough laps at this pace.
No, definitely not. Only 2 laps to go after this one. But it's Amazing how much he's dropped AJOK. AJOK really struggling to keep up with the fast guys.
And that will be a tyre wear issue for AJOK. Once they're gone, he's just going to want to take it carefully and not spit himself off trying to get a place he's never realistically going to catch.
Definitely, and AJOK, he seems from that shot to be quite safe in terms of people running behind him, so he'll just want to get to the finish, and of course for 8th place he will get reverse grid pole.
Just for awards for his efforts, you'd feel AJOK is not the fastest driver, but he's been quite consistent, and he works very hard. We've seen.
Yeah, he's always thereabouts, somewhere towards the front, even if not necessarily at the front. And this is Don Matteo about to get lapped by our race leader, Kimster.
I think that's the first time we've seen Don Matteo in a race.
I think it might be.
Which is both good and bad, really. He's obviously kept himself out of trouble, but not got himself in the limelight either.
Doesn't do anything stupid to get himself in the limelight either, which is always good to see. I think he just took to the escape road there. Oh no, he took the chicane. Just ran wide to allow Kimster through. And Kimster coming up to start his 14th and final lap.
It should be remembered Don Matteo has a longer commute than a lot of the other drivers. They are based in the UK, whereas he is now based in Madrid.
Yes, driving for Fire Cruiser. Presumably driving for Fire Cruiser, he has to commute between Madrid and Sealand on quite a regular basis, and with planes and helicopters that must take some time.
Oh,
getting onto the big curbs there.
Now you got to be careful with the bollard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he definitely cut the corner, but he definitely seemed to lose out with it.
Yeah, well, the high curb on the inside is enough to encourage drivers to not do that, because it tends to badly destabilise the car. This is trying to catch, I believe that's Jim's ahead.
So we might see a last corner attempt after all. I think Jim's has made a bit of a mistake somewhere in the lap, unsighted.
They must have, because they weren't this close before.
Oh, I don't know if that was a corner cut though.
Junior,
he's definitely benefited from that line.
It's not really an overtake into there. But by Junior, he's got a couple more opportunities. There's a half chance at the hairpin, and probably his best chances into the chicane.
He's gone for
corner. It. Ooh, it's a lunge, a big lock-up, but he seems to have made it stick. And any flat spot, well, there's only half a lap to go. With less than half a lap to go is Kimster, who is on to the home straight to claim another win in utterly dominant fashion.
Untroubled and unmatched, which is what we usually see from a Kimster victory.
And getting very tight indeed. These two coming up to lap one of the senior sports cars. It's probably Mastront Wolf.
I think Bar Junior's just about got it, but Jim's going to go for it.
Ooh.
Swipes across the front. Was there any contact?
I don't think there was. They had to go for it. No sense in holding back, with AJOK some distance behind. So even if he had to take to the escape road, he would have been okay. So that is 6th place for Bai Junior, 7th for Jim's, and the AJOK will come in. Don Matteo seems to have stopped.
He's run out of fuel, presumably.
That's the assumption, yes. Kimster Magnum. We didn't see much of him, but I think that only serves to demonstrate what a commanding victory it was. A lights to flag win for the Defenders driver and his teammate Blairy in 2nd place. Nearly 6 seconds behind. Another precious 27 points in the team's championship. PY James 3rd for the Offenders, and Mr. Vlobodob 5th, making it an N teams 1, 2, 3, 5. Jay Cook splitting them in 4th in his Junior Motorsports substitute appearance. Bucoy just missing out on points in 11th ahead of Dan Thorne and Lynn. Joe Speed and Croppy was the last of the runners on the lead lap. Don Matteo we saw stopped at the line. Astronaut, Wolf, Burwellian and Race Pro we all saw having incidents at various points during the race.
So maybe Don Matteo counted on being lapped and fueled himself accordingly. That would be an extremely smart bit of thinking from him.
Well, it seems a little overconfident because it's entirely possible the leaders might get held up and suddenly you look a bit silly running out of fuel in the last lap. But you never know, it could have been his plan all along, like you say. It all got a little heated at times.
Yes.
Some untidy driving and some very, very close racing as well.
I think Kimster will be quoting Rudyard Kipling in his post-race speech, if you can keep your head whilst all those around you lose theirs.
Yes, yes. Well, we saw a few examples like that, and most of the first four were like that. Largely out of trouble.
I think we did see the pace of Flood there, and what might have been had he been able to stay at the front and had no issues.
Yes, well, he'll be starting near the front and you'll be hoping for better luck next time out. As we see some of the incidents, Mastron was so lucky there. Not quite the attrition we saw at Vara, although with this being a much more open circuit, much more modern purpose-built circuit, you wouldn't really expect that. All 19 cars finished though, which is, I think, a first, and I think it's definitely a record.
It's definitely season best.
And I think it's the first time in Wheeler Rubbish Racing Race 07 history that all the starters have finished, and when there's 19 of them, that's doubly impressive. This has been the International Master Formula R 2.0 from the Nurburgring. We will be back for round 10 shortly. We hope to see you then.
See you there.